The primary purpose of the CAF podcast is to express platform for creatives to express their personal views or opinions without restriction or censorship. All views or opinions expressed during the CAF podcast are solely those of individuals expressing such views or opinions and does not reflect the views of the CAF podcast.
Season 6 wrap up episode for this season for the CAF podcast. And we got a treat for y'all tonight because we finally got a podcaster. Guys, she has her own podcast. And I gotta apologize, first of all, to her, because the reason why I reached out, because I thought it was the Nola podcast, which I went to school in Louisiana, and I went to Grambling State University. And so when I hear Nola, I'm thinking about New Orleans, not knowing this is your name. So I had all this stuff like, man, we're gonna talk about New Orleans, the food, Louisiana, all this. Come to find out, the Nola podcast is really about a young lady, and she's out of New York. And I was like, yeah. So I let me apologize to you, but for those who haven't gone, please go to YouTube. Go to hold on, I had it pulled up. Before she say anything, don't you say a word. Let me pull it up. Boom, boom, boom. Go to Nola Nola Row podcast on YouTube. Make sure y'all click and subscribe. Ladies and gentlemen, in the CAF podcast, we got the one and only Miss Nola. How are you doing?
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So it's the Nola Row Experience podcast. And I've actually had a lot of people from New Orleans reach out to me. So I'm used to it.
Yeah, because I think I followed you from I think it's another podcast page where they promoted you. And I just saw the name. I said, well, let me reach out to him because of the name, but not knowing this is a whole human being.
Yeah, I've definitely visited New Orleans before, and everywhere I went, people are like, your name is Nola? Is that really your name? So I'm used to it.
So, yeah. But I got a lot of stuff lined up because I had to go back and do my research as I talk to you. But the first question we asked Miss Nola in the podcast, in the CAF is, and we stole this question from Charlemagne the God. How is your mental health?
My mental health is sturdy. I'm definitely challenged from here to there, but as a person who is naturally resilient and a person who's learned a lot of tools in therapy, I definitely regulate very well. So I'm good. I know how to go into stuff and bounce it back out.
And I read that in your bio. So I don't know if you want to go that road, but if you open to it, we can. If not, I ain't gonna worry about it. And then the second question that we asked, because when this podcast got started in 2020, and that's when everybody couldn't go outside. And so I got back on Twitter, and Ms. Nola, when I got back on Twitter, outside of the nasty stuff and the politics and everything else, the one thing I saw a lot of Black women getting attacked, and I saw it on everybody ring cam and these video cameras on their apartment. So the next question that we always ask Black women, because I only saw Black women getting attacked: do you have a gun, and do you have a gun license to protect yourself?
Well, that's not a question that I'm comfortable answering. So
I don't need to know. We don't got to answer no more because I know the answer. So, but yeah, so that's a question that we asked, and because it was just like I saw a whole bunch of Black women getting attacked, and I'm like, what? And the thing about it is, it's probably been going on for years. It's just the ring cam is we now seeing a lot of it, and I go back to this one. If it wasn't for this lady dog, that man would have got her.
So I feel like I've seen that.
If you go to our IG page, is one, but it's the one with the dog I was looking for, because that dog saved that lady life, because that man was coming and he was like in the hand grip of getting her, but that dog just jumped out of that apartment and got on old boy and he ran. So that's a question that we always ask Black women, but we ain't finna go through that. You say you want to answer, we're gonna keep it moving. So, Miss Nola, we got you on as the last episode of season 6, and this season we talking about assignment and attachment. Now I went through some of your videos. I wasn't able to get through all of them, but I think some of these you touch on them, but you didn't like. I don't know if you went into sturdy details. So my question is to you is when you hear the word attachment and assignment, and I'm talking about dealing with everyday life, what does that mean to you?
You know, I actually, this is really cute. One of my assignments in therapy was to read a book called Attached, because my goal at that time was to explore how I was showing up in relationships, you know, explore some of the conflicts and why I kept running into the same experiences over and over. So my therapist recommended a book called Attached, which was mainly based on romantic relationships, but you can use the information in the book and apply it to any kind of relationship. So attachment, that's the first thing that came up for me when you said that, just attachment styles and how people maneuver through life based on that. And assignment could be, you know, a preconceived way that people feel like they have to behave in certain scenarios, or what you feel your purpose is in this life.
I just had to write the book down because I'm a big I'm a big reader. So when I hear somebody say they got a book that help with life, I gotta write it down. You
It's a
wouldn't have
dope book.
you wouldn't have to have the author.
I don't remember the author,
All
but
right.
I can definitely send it to you.
Yeah. Yeah, anytime somebody recommend a book, I do read it. Now, some books, I kind of after the first 2 chapters, I'm like, but some of them they kind of get me. So, yeah, that's what's up. You brought up therapy. How has that helped you?
A lot of ways, because I think a lot of us, we go through life just thinking we know everything, you know what I mean? And it doesn't matter what people think about me. It doesn't matter what people say about me. What I think is what matters. And that's not always true, because there have been so many times I'll be saying something in therapy and my therapist will be like, well, no, hold on. Let's watch the words that you use. Is that really what happened, or is that how you perceive it? So I definitely think a lot of tools in maneuvering life, getting through relationship obstacles, and definitely learning how you show up in relationships, because you might be blaming everybody else for the conflicts that you have, right? And I think I definitely learned how to identify when I'm the problem.
That's big.
Mm-hmm.
That's big. That could solve a lot of stuff. Do you and I ain't trying to harp on what you got going, but do you think that if therapy was introduced to our community, let's say I'm not going to age you either, but let's say to the older people, do you think a lot of this stuff that Black people go through on a day-to-day basis could have been, I ain't gonna say get rid of, but maybe desensitized a little bit?
Um, I would recommend therapy for everybody. But the thing about therapy is, when you get information or when you are offered those tools, you actually have to implement them. And I've noticed that a lot of people have gone to therapy and they're like, well, it didn't work for me. Did you use the tools? Did you implement them? Did you practice the stuff that you learned? So I do believe there would be better communicating among some people, because again, some people won't use it. You know what I mean? Some people, it's very difficult for them to admit the truth and admit when they're the ones who need to look inside and shift or do something different. So for a lot of people, yes. And communicating and dealing with mental health issues and figuring out tools to respond in a respectful way or a healthy way or a way where people are not constantly in cycles. I think it will help a lot of people, definitely. As Black people on a whole, that's a little bit of a tricky thing. It's a little bit of a tricky thing.
How tricky?
Because if I think 2020 and going through the pandemic, I feel like we learned and we confirmed that people just don't be on the same page. And I figured that if somebody's saying, hey, put a mask on and maybe it'll prevent something, another person's like, well, based on my research, masks don't work, and then another person is saying, well, they worked for me. We couldn't get people on the same page with that at all. We couldn't get, some people wouldn't stay home, some people wouldn't leave the house. So when you're dealing with people on a population basis, if it's the masses, it's very difficult to get everybody on the same page. But I think it'll help some people.
Listen, I live in Florida. They didn't care a damn about that pandemic. They was outside doing whatever, and then and I ain't trying to go political, but then our governor was like, "We don't need it." But you see the people dying, and then when it hits home, you got people that pass away from COVID. It's like, hey man, like put the mask on. But that's another topic for another day. But yeah, okay. Ooh. Miss Nola, this now. I'm a switch a little bit because I have been watching your videos, and you got some videos where y'all hit home with a lot of stuff, especially the one I think it's called I think why women are so tough. Like that one, I watched that one. I want to say Monday, and you brought up a point about how if you go to the hood, you don't see too many people smiling. You don't see too many people laughing. You see a lot of people frowning and just going through. Like, so is as much as much as Black people, and I'm guilty is talk about the hood. Is really coming up in the hood is really good for us. I know we learned some stuff. I know for me, I learned a lot of stuff on the streets. I didn't do none of that stuff, but I learned how. Like I told this experience, like I can smell when somebody's smoking crack. I know that smell.
Me too.
So is the hood really a good place for anybody?
Well, there's a lot of things happening in what I would call the ghetto, right? One thing that a lot of people don't realize is if you live in a community where you don't have a lot of trees, the depression rates are higher, anxiety is higher, more people commit suicide, people are naturally more violent, and people typically live in those types of neighborhoods because of poverty, because of lack of funds. And we all know that anywhere where people are living in poverty, there's going to be more violence. Babies who are born to mothers with low vocabulary, they start out with low vocabulary. Those babies have a smaller chance of excelling in school, right? And those same babies end up being trapped in the school to prison pipeline. So imagine being in a neighborhood where the tax dollars are not funding your schools, the teachers are underpaid, so they're not even performing well because they're sick, tired, underpaid, and frustrated. They're not teaching your kids well. They're probably even abusive, yelling at your kids or whatever. This is not an environment where you're going to have a bunch of scholars and a bunch of people that are productive in the society. And I'm not speaking based on opinion, I'm speaking based on facts because I've spoken about this on my podcast. So growing up in the hood, you have a completely different educational system. Your chances of becoming a productive adult, it's decreased significantly, and you have a crazy high chance of ending up in prison. So
I can catch all this on the Nola Road Experience. I think you're on Spotify too.
Spotify, Apple, Google, YouTube, iHeart.
The Nola Road Experience, man. A podcast, or is it just experience or just podcast, or how you say it?
The Nola Experience podcast.
The Nola Road Experience podcast. Make sure y'all go check it out. We got the one and only Miss Nola in here. Miss Nola, why did you get into podcasting?
Because I like to talk, and I've always been a talker, but I don't talk to talk. I talk when I know that what's coming out of my mouth will be of value to people. And I want to share that. I'm not a person who misspeaks. If you hear me say something, I meant it. Even if it wasn't something that sounded very nice, I always mean what I say. And there are a lot of people around me who have gained value from the things that I've said, things I've done. And I kept having people telling me, you should start a podcast over and over. And I was like, you know what? The moment I get a team and the moment I get people who can support me in doing this, I'll do it, because I wasn't about to do it by myself. And when that team showed up, I got into it, and it's been making a great impact.
Yeah, because I see you started off with the co-host. I can't remember his name, but then I saw as the videos kept going, it was just you. So, did you because you started the way you started? Did you start getting that confidence where you're like, I can handle this? Like, even some of the videos, it wasn't a guest; it was just you. Like, so did the experience give you that confidence to just keep to like, all right, I'm doing a podcast episode, press the button, where my mic?
Yeah, I've always had the confidence. We ended up parting ways because his life was going in a different direction. He was engaged to get married. He was going off to the military. He had become a new dad. So different things were happening for him. So he ended up, going off to the Air Force. And we recently recorded an episode together where we talk about his life after the podcast and what he's been doing, what he's currently getting into. But yeah, every time I get on camera, every time I get on the mic, I started out confident, but it definitely has been getting better over time.
Do you feel like this is your assignment, or you feel like this is just part one to get to another assignment in your life?
I'm not 100% sure if I have an assignment. That term doesn't resonate with me. I do feel that when it comes to the word purpose, because people always ask, do you think this is your purpose? I feel like my purpose varies depending on who I'm interacting with. Like I could interact with you and have some type of effect, some type of impact, and that was my purpose with you. And I have a purpose as a mother. I have a purpose as an entrepreneur. I'm also in the restaurant business. So there are so many different things that I'm really good at that I tap into. So is this my assignment? I'm not sure. That term resonates with me, but maybe one day I'll change my mind.
I mean, well, from a distance, looking from where I'm looking from I'm pointing at, to see the videos that you get, it is to me it is, and I'm gonna tell you my reason why. Because I tell some people, like, they who wants to help people, you should start a podcast, because you never know who's going to watch your video. Yeah, your video might get 100 views, but it might be impactful just to 6 people where they say, you know what, let me keep going. Let me do this. I heard her say this. Well, maybe if I switch this up and do this. She said she went like that. I did the same thing, but then she went like that. Maybe I need to do that. I just feel like when you open your mouth, from what I've seen from a distance, it's in touching people, and I hope you I hope you know that it is a purpose in your life, because you just don't start a podcast just to start a podcast. Not like yours. There's plenty of podcasts out there where people just talking to say whatever to get a moment. But it's certain podcasts, when you listen to it, you're like, hey, this could be something big. So I'm gonna tell you right now, it is an assignment on your life. Now, what is gonna be after that? I don't know.
Thank you. I
So,
appreciate that.
yeah. So now let me ask this question, because in the podcast world, what has something that you've seen that you was like, maybe I should stop?
There's been a lot of things that have challenged me. I don't really recall a time when I wanted to stop.
Mm-hmm.
I've definitely recalled times when I'm like, okay, I want this to happen differently. I want to step this up a notch. I want to change this up a little bit, or even collaborate with people who might be challenging to collaborate with. Because I think a lot of times when you pull a guest on your podcast, well, not you per se, but people, they kind of want to talk with people who they agree with, and the conversation is going to go smoothly. I've been learning so much, and I just want to keep going and challenging those conversations, and challenging myself to connect with people who I don't always agree with.
No. I agree with that cold-heartedly, because the best conversation that we had is people who think different, act different. We just had my man Frank Mocha. He's if I show you his resume, it's really impressive, but he don't want to talk about that. He rather talk about what I'm a quote. He said, like, he don't understand why Black people are excited about Juneteenth. Like, are we really free? And I challenge him. I'm like, yo, I'm going to celebrate Juneteenth, because that's when technically Black people are free. He was like, well, really think about it. Were Black people really free? I said, from an outsider in, no, but on paper, right. But it turned out to be a conversation where I learned something from him. So the difficult conversation it is needed. Like, people who want to talk to the same people, well, I'm gonna take that back. Me, I don't want to talk to the same people all the time. It gets boring. I want. That's why I reached out to you, because to me, you're higher than me. Maybe I can pull something from you to get me going. Not to say I'm better than you, but just to say, hey, look, I'm on a different level now.
I respect that, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
So, um, no, we ain't gonna go that route, because we do got these questions, but I'm not gonna ask them to you. So, because once again, we the Cav, we do talk about certain stuff, but I want to go in more in depth with you, and I gotta ask this question: why are Black men so scared of alpha women, alpha Black women? Excuse me.
Well, I can't really answer for men, but I can tell you a theory.
I'm all ears.
And there's something that I have to say about the whole alpha concept. I think that a lot of people don't realize there are different types of alphas. You have people who are alphas, but they are straight ego. You know what I mean? Like, they'll step into a room, dominate everything, suck up all the energy, but not really offering any type of value. And then you have the alpha people who they step up, they support their community, they're, dominant as well, but not in a way that makes other people feel smaller or intimidated. So I definitely want to mention that first, that there are different types of alphas. And a lot of times when people are like, I want an alpha, it's typically that the more negative one. But my theory as to why a man would be intimidated or afraid of an alpha woman, it's probably because of the way we are programmed in society. We feel that a man has to take a certain type of role with women. And if some men are not able to take those roles with women, they feel inferior, they feel inadequate, like they have to step up in a way that doesn't match her. And that can definitely crush people. So maybe that's the reason.
We got Miss Nola from the Know Your Raw Experience podcast, kicking it with the Cavs season 6. It's our final episode. Miss Nola, what is your are you Trinidad or Jamaican? I hear a little twang.
I'm from Guyana. I'm Guyanese.
I hear a little twang. I was like, yeah, because New York is like a melting pot as well of different cultures.
Everybody's here.
Yeah. Guyanese. Guyanese. What
Yeah.
Guyanese, and that's I'm not trying to excuse me. That's from Ghana, if I'm correct.
Well, Ghana is a country in Africa. Guyana is a country in South America. We're right next door to Brazil. So we're in between Brazil, Suriname, Venezuela area. We're like the only English speaking country in South America.
That's different. Because I'm about to ask you, did you know like Spanish or French? Wow. So did your parents, did they come to the States or did y'all come together?
They came and then I came after.
Gotcha.
So,
okay. Keep this thing rolling, man. So what is something that you learned from doing podcasts that you didn't know you needed to learn?
A lot of the technical stuff. And that's still something that I'm learning about. I remember the first time we started recording and my producer gave me these headphones and I was like, I don't want to wear that. It doesn't go in my hair, right? And we were just going back and forth about, I'm like, do I have to wear headphones? I don't want to wear hair. The headphones, the mixing, all that stuff. There was an episode called Digital Dick. I don't know if I can say that. I'm sorry.
First, hold on before you continue. This is the Cav. We tried to be PG-13, but we ended up being whatever the rating is because we had people who come on. I done said some crazy stuff. My co-host done said crazy stuff. The guests done said crazy stuff. So you can feel free to say what you want to say. Just let us know what we can't ask. Because if you give me the green light, I'm gonna ask. So,
copy that.
But you can say whatever you want to say. Go with it.
Yeah, so I flew out to California and I was out there without my producers and I had to record the episode and it was a mess with the audio and all that stuff. So the technical stuff, definitely, I've been learning a lot. I've been learning about levels, mics, lighting, everything. So I'm excited about that. I love that there's a whole new world of things that I'm learning about.
Podcast world, it is something.
It's a lot of work.
It is. My experience from it, I'm gonna just say this. I like the creativity, the opportunity especially when we get these videos to add the music, chop it up, add this, the video, to cut this and that. Like we don't have a producer and all that. We literally homegrown. But I just love that part of the whole podcast world. So it's been an experience, but I wouldn't change nothing.
I love it.
Come on now. So what is the main goal for you with the Nola Raw Experience podcast?
My main goal is always to add value. That's always it. Any relationship that I step into, whether it's romantic, friendship, family, connecting in a community, if I am showing up, I have to leave something there. There is not a place that I'm going to walk into and lead people astray. If I say anything on my podcast, it's never because, oh, this is what everybody else is saying, or this is a gimmick, or I'm saying this because I want to get people's attention. It's never that. It's always, I'm saying this because people don't quite like to say it that way, or a lot of people are not saying this. So it's always about telling the truth and adding value.
Now, dealing with Black podcasters, and we talk about some of the stuff, but sometimes I hate it when we do. But I notice a lot about yours. You don't really talk a lot about relationships. Like you'll dab into them, but most of the time when you dealing with, especially when you have a guest, it's like I can't think of the what's the episode with the I think it was Sex Out the Box. That one.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was another young lady, I can't think of her. She was light skinned. She was talking about her juice business.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let me ask you, do you ever feel like I gotta go down that road, or are you just like, I'm just gonna do me today? Because it seemed like every Black podcaster is a relationship guru.
Headline, Starlight.
Subscribe button too if you want to see more podcasts from Florida. Go follow our main man, Florida. Don't play with it.
Shout out to Florida.
Yeah,
Shout out to
shout
Florida.
out, huge shout out to Florida, man. Thank you for having me on. Yeah, it was a privilege.
That's funny. And you said that with a straight face. You know what? I love talking about relationships. I do. But I feel like there's way more going on. And I think a lot of people talk about relationships because it gets a lot of attention. And I would rather tell you, hey, the woman who was on that episode, Jasmine Kears, she actually reversed her diabetes, right? Her high blood pressure, sorry, and has experienced people who reversed their diabetes. That's something that I want to tell people. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's something that I want to touch on. And if I do talk about relationships, which if there's ever an episode where I touch on the type of relationship topics that people typically touch on, it's going to sound very different. It's not going to be popular. People are going to be upset. So I'm not into the whole, I do have a gender wars episode coming up where I will be talking about relationships between men and women. And people don't always like that I agree with men on some things. And I don't always agree with what my female friends are saying. And I don't always agree with, oh, men are this or women are this. And, we keep putting everybody in a box. So, yeah, I think people do it because it gets a lot of attention. But I'm not really, like I said before, I'm not going to say what everybody else is saying to get attention.
Nah, I agree with you on that, because you remember when Ebony K. Williams said she wouldn't talk to the bus driver?
Mm-hmm.
I agree with her. I said this, like, I like all the bus drivers in the world. When is the last time when will you ever see a time Ebony K. Williams standing at the bus stop?
You know what? For me, and I think, again, this is where I'm different. For me, it's like, I agree with her not because, hey, you shouldn't talk to a bus driver. I agree with her because that's what she wants to do. If you don't like bus drivers, don't talk to bus drivers. I don't mind. I'm cool with that.
Ladies and gentlemen, please go check out the Nola Experience podcast. I said the same thing, and I ain't finna go stay on relationships longer. But to me, it's like, if a woman has a standard and she said, I don't only want to talk to this type of man, fellas, let her go talk to her. If that's what she want, that's what she want. But I say this, remember, whatever you want, it do come with a price. So you might not like the outcome, but at least you get what you want.
Period.
So when I hear men be dogging women, saying, I'm like, bruh, you wouldn't date a porn star, but you'll watch porn.
Mm, that's a good one.
Like, come on now, let's be for real. You not finna that stripper that you love at the strip club. You not. I don't. It are some men who try to take off the pole, but if you, especially when you start dealing with body count, y'all not finna deal with these type of women. So just hey, let it be. If that's what they want, is that what they like? Deal with it. I
That's a
like
whole fact.
Whoppers. I like Whoppers. You like Big Macs. Don't mean Big Mac's better than Whoppers or Whoppers better than Big Mac. You like what you like.
Yeah, that's
So
a fact. I love that. You know what's interesting that you say that because I recently posted a video about the whole Cheesecake Factory thing. And I was just saying, like, if people don't want to go there, don't go.
hey, you don't like the Cheesecake Factory? Fine. Let me take you home because it seemed like you out of my budget.
Period. And you go about your business and we're done.
I didn't see the big like all these first dates where they're going and all that. I didn't get it. That girl didn't want to go to the Cheesecake Factory. My God, get in your car, take her home, or if you're trying to really get with her, take her to Roof Ridge, take her to Morton, take her to whatever expensive restaurant she like. If you really want her, but if she says she don't want to go to the Cheesecake Factory, hey, I think you out of my league. Let me take you home. Let me stop wasting your time because you're wasting mine.
I think it's so simple
Why do let me shorten it. Why do black people blow things up?
because it gets attention.
And I hate
She
that.
did she didn't have to post a video telling that man that's below her, but it gets attention.
I
I was
hate
embarrassed for him. I felt bad. I was
I
like,
I, I was looking at him like, hey my God. I once I was just like, hey, get in your car. Cause I think he had a Porsche.
oh, really?
Yeah, or something like that. He was driving a Porsche. Hey, my guy, get in your car, take that girl home. It's probably somebody else. You could probably take her to Applebee's.
Get in your Porsche, you mean?
Get in your Porsche and take her home, or drop her off where you want to be. Or if you really got money like that, here $9. Get your Uber.
But I like that you said that, everything comes with a price because when you value people based only on what they can give you, you're probably going to be dealing with all types of people.
Yep.
Because we've all seen women in relationships with men with a lot of money and they're miserable.
Uh, that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day, Miss Nola. We ain't got that much time. I don't want to waste your time like that. That's a whole nother topic. We talked about that. This is our sixth season. We talked about in our third season how we had a young lady on who was talking to a man who made that type of money, but only time she could get time with him is maybe like 3 hours a week, and then he was gone. It's a whole nother topic. We're gonna keep it moving. So we got Miss Nola here in the podcast with us. Season 6, our last episode of the season. I'm so happy that you finally you responded back. Once again, I thought you was in New Orleans because of the name, but that's really your name.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So let me just say that because for the people who don't know, let me ask this question: why don't black podcasters reach out to each other like this?
I haven't had that experience.
I have. Well, let me say it. We have. We done invited plenty of people from our podcast to come on, but it seems like when the invitation, it doesn't get extended back. I'm not saying for you to do it, but it just seems like we'll invite somebody onto our podcast who has a podcast, and then it's like nothing in return.
Well, have you considered doing surveys?
No.
When people come on the pod, maybe send them a survey, see what their experience was.
That's why we got you on. See, tips like that can work because we never did. I never did. Like we'll get guests on, but we'll get returning guests. But you don't want to keep bringing the same people on. You want to get new conversations. So I can't say each season we've gotten 5 new guests, which this season you would be our 8th new guest. That's a big up for us. But we try to reach out to certain people to who we know can have a good conversation. Now we invited some people on and we didn't have like a dead conversation, but that's because we didn't invent them.
You know what's interesting? I've been on podcasts. I've invited people to my podcast, and I didn't think that it was an expectation that we would swap invitations. So it's probably not necessarily, hey, something happened on your end that, they're not feeling. I don't know what you're thinking. I'm just assuming. But I personally never felt like, oh, it has to be an exchange. You come on mine, I come on yours. So maybe some people didn't feel like it needed to be reciprocated.
I'm looking at it, and once again, this is me and my interpretation. I'm looking at it as like, if we, not saying that you got to, but it's like, you don't want to send him like say, hey, like y'all want to come on mine? Like we did you a favor or something like that. Like, cause I've been dying to get on people's podcasts just to switch it up from being the host to the guest.
Well, you should ask them.
Miss Nola, I'm writing that down.
You should ask them to be on their pod.
I learn something new every day. So have you ever had a guest on and you was like, let's wrap this up?
And ended it mid recording?
Maybe, yeah, because you're like, this is not going nowhere. This person's not actually talking. Like they just get into the answer short. You ask them questions like, yes, I like it.
No, I've never had that because I've had a lot of people reach out to be on the podcast, but if I go on your website or I go on your profile or wherever you are and I don't see any videos of you speaking, I typically don't book those people.
Never thought about that. Seeing them speak. Ooh, that's a good one. All right. Couple more questions, then we're gonna wrap this up. I don't want to. I know because it's for our listeners or the viewers. Most of our people is in Central Time, like Louisiana and Texas. But for people who don't know, we like an hour before everybody, so we need to get to bed. So a couple more questions, then we'll wrap this up. So Ms. Nola, if somebody wanted to start a podcast, what would be the best advice you would give them?
I would say figure out why you want to do the podcast. If it's only because you want to talk, I would say don't waste your time going through all of that work if you're just talking to talk to. I've heard podcasts where I'll tune in and I'm like, what are we talking about? This sounded like a conversation you could have had on the phone with your friend. Like, no shade, but that's what I'm thinking. And do some research. Do research on equipment. Do research on marketing. Depending on what your podcast goals are, if you want to reach a lot of people, make sure you got your branding right. It's a lot of different things, but I think the most important thing is, and this is only because I don't enjoy listening to podcasts where people just ramble. figure out why you want to talk to people. And once you figure that out, fine tune it and offer some type of value instead of just hopping on to talk.
And then what would you? And I'm gonna go back to Black women because we do talk to a lot of Black women. Most of our viewers are Black women. What would be the advice you would give to that Black woman who she wants to do a podcast? Because we get this question like I want to start a podcast, I want to do a podcast, but they were like, what should I talk about? And I always tell them, whatever floats your boat. I'm like, there's a lady right now who only talk about gardening, who's now getting paid from the I can't think of the gardening TV network. She get paid close to about she made close to about 6 figures a year on her podcast, and all she talk about is gardening. It's another young lady. It's another young lady. You know what she talk about? New ideas for babies. Sometimes don't use a baby wipe. Sometimes you can use a rag and get this. She get paid. I'm like, it's so many avenues in it. You should talk. So when if a young Black lady or any Black lady wants to get started, but she don't know what to talk about, what would be the best advice for them?
If you don't know what to talk about, then you shouldn't start a podcast.
Straight to the point. The Nola Road Experience podcast, man. Y'all can check it out on YouTube. Go follow her on Instagram, Facebook.
Yes.
TikTok.
Yes.
And
YouTube.
YouTube, and it ain't Twitter, it's X, I think. And Threads, if I'm correct. That's what they call it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All the things.
Yeah, we only on 4. Since it's just me running everything, I say y'all. I don't want to do TikTok, Twitter. It's just I don't know how we cut through all that because it's just so much porn. It's so much.
I don't do Twitter. I just don't click with Twitter.
Don't do it. It's as soon as I open my Twitter, it's like. It's so much filth. It's so much filth. And some of the stuff, don't get me wrong, some of them I follow, but some of them I don't follow and they still pop up on my timeline. So, Miss Nola, we got our CAB podcast questions now. Some of the questions you don't have to answer, but we are going to ask. These are our questions. So you let me know how you want to rock and we'll go from there. So the first question, Miss Nola, that we asked, some of the questions are going to be one or the other. Some are going to be fill in the blank. You just go how you feel. The first question, love or money?
Love.
Financial literacy or health literacy?
Health.
All right, this is a 3-part question. You can answer 2 out of 3, 1 out of 3, but you can't answer all 3. T-shirt and panties, lingerie, or nothing at all?
T-shirt and panties.
Okay. Is dating on potential, is that a good or bad thing?
Say that one more time.
Is dating on potential? You just met this guy or this dude just met this girl. Is dating on potential? Is that a good or bad thing?
Everything is on potential.
That is a new answer in the cap. I gotta write that down.
Because you have no idea what's gonna happen.
You're the first woman ever said that. Most women either say, excuse me, I'm gonna say 90% of the women say no. No, dating on potential is bad.
Everything is potential.
Miss Nola, what is something that you plan to accomplish or that you already accomplished before 2024?
That's like in a couple of weeks.
Have you already accomplished it that you wanted to accomplish, or is it something that you still got a couple more days to get it done?
Yeah, I got injured. I got this back injury earlier this year that I'm still in rehab working through. So before the new year, I definitely want to make sure that I'm able to go on New Year's Eve and have a good time without worrying about back pain.
Ms. Nola, how long should good sex last?
It depends on you, what you like.
That's first. Get a time. We usually get a time. The average time being 15 minutes.
It's up to you. What do you like?
Ms. Nola, what is the best advice a Black woman ever gave you?
I know that a lot of people don't like Wendy Williams, but she was the first woman that I heard say to young women, get your money up. Stop focusing on settling down with these young guys. Focus on your career, get your money up, and you don't have to fall in love with everybody that you date. You can date around until you're ready, just like guys do. And I love that.
What is the best advice a Black man ever gave you?
I'm currently in a relationship with a Black man who is constantly helping me communicate better because I am so much of a straight shooter when it comes to talking that sometimes it causes issues. And he is constantly giving me advice on how to respond.
Ball taco, chia pet, or landing strip?
What's the first one?
Ball taco.
What taco?
Ball taco.
What is that?
Ball taco,
Uh-huh.
chia pet, or landing strip?
I'm gonna have to go with the chia pet because I don't know what the other two are.
Okay, so so I'm gonna edit this part up because that's the question we ask women. What do you prefer downstairs? Ball
Okay.
taco, chia pet, or landing strip?
Bald.
Okay. What is something still on your bedroom bucket list? I'm gonna give you an example. One young lady said she never did it in the Mile High Club. We had one young lady said she never been picked up. Another said she would love for her man to just literally deck the house with roses and they just do whatever. We even had a guy say on his bucket list is to literally go on a trip with his girl to a random place and just do whatever.
Yeah, I think hopping on a plane and going somewhere exotic, definitely. That last one inspired me because I was just about to say, I don't have anything because I feel like I've done everything.
Okay. What is something that you are leaving in 2023?
Maybe procrastinating because honestly, I do try to go through my day being very intentional about every decision because I'm not one of those people who like to disappoint myself or have regrets. I don't like to do that at all.
Mm-hmm.
But procrastinating definitely. I'm a work in progress on that one.
We all are. Don't feel ashamed. We all are.
Thank you.
Now, this question I stole from. I keep saying this podcast, but it's a podcast in New York out of the barbershop. I cannot think of their name. But anyways, they had Killer Mike on, and Killer Mike asked him a question, and he stumped all of them. They could not answer. I think maybe one guy was able to answer two things, and the question was, "What do you love about Black people?" And one man was like, "I love the women." He was like, "No. They love our women too." What is something that you specifically love about Black people? And only one guy was able to answer, and he gave two things. I'm not going to tell you that. I'm going to tell you at the end, but I want to hear what are two things that you specifically love about Black people?
I love that we are the originators of everything. You know, there is not many things that I see other people do that wasn't somehow influenced by Black culture.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that when we do those things, there's always some type of flavor in it. You know what I mean? Like you can listen to an audio and know that, okay, that's a Black person talking based on how they're saying certain things. So there's always some type of flavor, some type of twist, whether it's the way we cook, the way we dance, the way we dress, the way we talk. You know, we're originators That's one. And when we do put things out there, it's always flavorful.
Okay. The two things that the guy gave, he said he loved Black people forgiveness, because we'll forgive a lot of things we did, and the way we bounce back. Whenever we go through a situation, somehow, some way, we always find a way to bounce back from the situation. Okay, two more questions. If you can ask God one question, what would that question be?
How did this all start for real?
That is the first two. And then the last question, I don't know because you in New York, but I still got to ask it. Who has the better pancakes, Cracker Barrel or Whataburger? Me and the calf, so we got to end it with a food question.
I'm gonna go with my pancakes because I go above and beyond to make them very flavorful, and because I've never been to either of those places.
I know when I thought about it, like you from New York, so I don't know if Cracker Barrel can get past Virginia, and Whataburger damn sure don't get past Georgia. Whataburger is mostly Georgia, Texas, Louisiana, and Florida. Yeah.
Never even heard of that one.
Really? Wow. You got to come down south one time.
Definitely. I love the South. I love Georgia. Florida is okay. My dad lives there, and I love New Orleans. That's my spirit city.
So do you dabble in that?
In what?
In the spirit world, like essence and
Not that type of spirit.
okay, just gotta make sure. Because they really dabble in that type of stuff. Like,
but you know what? I think the reason why I loved Louisiana, not necessarily New Orleans, because I feel like both times I've been there, it's very watered down from what I've learned and seen on TV. What I love is just you can still see African culture in certain places.
Yes.
That's what I love.
When I first got to Louisiana, I'm thinking country. But then when you get there, it's country, but it's like I can't. Some people not gonna feel this, but I felt I was home, and I'm from Florida. In Louisiana, Florida, those are like oil and vinegar. They it's just different. But when I got there, it was like a couple weeks, couple months. This home.
I love it. I love that.
So yeah. Okay. Well, Miss Nola, this is the part of the show where we give you the floor. We give you the opportunity to promote what you want to promote, say what you want to say, however you want to do it. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Hey, everybody. My name is Nola Rowe, spelled Nola like Nola, RO. And I host the Nola Rowe Experience podcast. If you are ever in New York City, make sure you stop by my spot, The Hills Restaurant, located in Brooklyn. And the Nola Rowe Experience podcast, The Hills BK, you can find on Instagram, Facebook, and wherever you like to log on, whether it's social media or a website. Thank you.
Last question. The Nola Rowe Experience podcast in 2024 is going to be
making money.
And that's how we're going to Season 6 Cal podcast. We got Miss Nola here. First of all, before we get here, let me give a thank you to all the guests that we have on this season. Hold on as I get my paper because we had a lot. First of all, thank you to Quita, Rocky, Maul, Delisa, Netta, and Cheatham, Twan, Miss Marion Bell, India, Mama Chastity and Summer, Area Hunter, Secret and B, and Miss Renee, my guy Frank, Sophie, DJ Reno, Nick Lewis, Steffi and Missy E, and of course can't forget the one and only I don't Oh, Slick Stick Cigars. I want to thank all y'all for getting off of season 6, man. I really do appreciate you. Miss Nola, this has been an honor and a treat. I hope it's not your first or I hope it's not your last time in the cab. I want to get you back in when we got more to talk about. I just wanted to get you in here just to get the experience. So I really do appreciate you getting on, helping us close out season 6. Do you have anything to say before we wrap it up?
Thank you. I'm grateful.
Season 6 Cal Podcast, man. That's it. We'll see y'all in 2024. Wishing y'all nothing but love. And getting ready for season 7. We out of here.
Bye.
G14 classified.
Headline.
That's good.
Starlight.
DJ Star.